Warning. This episode has a continuity error. I filmed this one before the review and demo that we saw yesterday, so I might be a bit confused here, but these are my first reactions to unboxing the mini guitars. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's Fenders galore today. I've got 6 of them. These are freshly imported from Japan. So, we talked about a very unique series a couple of weeks ago, and I said, hey, if anybody wants one of these things and they need help getting it from Japan to the US or wherever these things are going, I think I've got 1 or 2 of these going to Canada even, just to let me know. And I was overwhelmed by the response here. So we are going to unbox them all on the show. That way, everybody's guitar is on the show. But before we get too far deep into this, let's go ahead and get our first one out here. So if you happen to have missed that first episode, these are smaller scale length Fender Telecasters, Stratocasters, Jazz basses, as well as Jazzmasters. But we're not talking tiny little dinky Glarry guitars like this episode. We're talking 24-inch scale length, similar to like a Jaguar. So short scale Fenders are already an existing thing, so the fact that you can get the other popular shapes within this is great, but these are Japan exclusive guitars. But let's go ahead and take our first one out here because I think it's a Telecaster. Yes, indeed it is. Oh yeah. First impression, just holding this neck, I like the satin feel. It's great. But this one is a black Telecaster. I believe this one is one of the new Guitar Day purchases. But oh man. Oh, that's weird because they also shrunk the bodies down ever so slightly. Oh. And it's got a comfort cut. I didn't realize that. This body is significantly smaller than I was expecting. I believe the official wording is like 94% of the original body size, but man, that is a little bit smaller than normal. That is a cute little Telecaster here. This feels really tiny. Like, I'm surprised that we've only lost 1.5 inches on the scale length. I mean, it almost feels like one of those little Glarry things. But as far as like the fit and finish of the feel, that's nice. Like, there's different grades to satin, right? There's like cheap bottom of the barrel, and then there's like a really high grade satin feel, and this is definitely towards the higher end. So yeah, if you've always felt that Telecasters were a bit too big on you, or if you want like maybe your son or daughter who isn't quite ready for like the full size Tele as far as height goes, because that's what's interesting about these is they still retain the same feel and spacing of the original style of these things. So they don't really sacrifice too much here. But we've got a sweet mint green pickguard on this one. That's looking pretty nice. Next up here, let's see what is in this box. So let's go ahead and pop it out. If I remember correctly, I think we got one of each of the body styles, so it should be a complete unboxing here in English. I mean, you might be able to find this in like Japan's YouTube or something like that. But let's go ahead and get our first impressions of this bad boy. It's another Telecaster. But oh, there is another surprise here. Now, the true reason why somebody ordered that black one, you might think, black Tele, why would you do that? That one is a gloss finish. Most of the other finishes within this collection are actually satin. Now, I was talking about the satin back of the neck, right? All of those are satin as far as that goes. But this is just a really flat finish. So it's kind of like butterscotch blonde, but without like the whole see-through phenomenon going on. So that is really cool. Now, I've got to say, as far as like the whole quirky nature of this guitar, I really kind of like this whole eggshell-like finish that they have going on. These are not like cheap garbage feeling satin finishes. I know I'm saying the same thing on the back of the neck, but these feel right to me. It's not like the satin that I think will like buff up into a polish either. It's like a complete finish as far as that goes. Now, it might buff. I don't know. I'm not going to do anything to new Guitar Day purchases. But yeah, first impressions, I would say I kind of prefer the feel of this one, and maybe it's just me getting over the whole weirdness of the small body shape. But there we go, a beautiful off-white color on this one with the same mint green pickguard. However, that makes me really curious. Why is one of the finishes gloss? Like, shouldn't they just did them all satin or all gloss? I'm not sure what's in what box, so I'm going to grab this one because I know it's going to be different than a Telecaster. Now that I think about it, I don't know if anybody ordered a Stratocaster. I'm going to be really sad if we didn't, but I can guarantee you, since this box is a little bit bigger, this is going to be the Jazz Bass, and this is the most popular one of the series. Because a while back, Fender did a short scale jazz bass before, and those things have become kind of collectible. So the fact that these things are back in production, readily available, and relatively inexpensive in Japan. Now, when you add shipping to the US, import duties, taxes, forwarding fees, all that stuff, yeah, they do get a bit expensive. But if you don't live in Japan and you don't know the ins and outs of importing and exporting, yeah, that's kind of what you're stuck paying, unfortunately. But I'm really excited to feel this now that I felt the whole satin finish of that other one, because that's something else that I think will make it different than that first run. So inside here, looks like I've got a sunburst. All right, so this one is full on gloss, so another glossy finish. The fact that it's a little bit smaller isn't as jarring on a bass, because basses are generally giant, and especially being mainly a guitar player, you always feel how much larger they are. So this one being a little bit smaller, it feels right. This is about the size of like a normal guitar. So this could be like the guitar player's bass. It would be a good way to put that. Oh, it's interesting. We even got a tiny little knob right here. I would guess they're probably 2 volumes and then a master tone, and they just kind of made them look different. That way, maybe if it was a beginner who particularly got this guitar, they could tell the difference between the two. But yeah, that is a full-on gloss finish, but then the back of the neck is also satin. I mean, those frets are looking great on this model too, and the rosewood boards are quite attractive. This one's great. I would highly suggest one of these if you're looking for a slightly smaller scale bass, because there's a lot of short scale bass players. By no means is this tiny. 30 inches is pretty much the standard for like most Gibson basses. But let's go ahead and clean this up and get our next one. There we go. Skip the boxing part. We'll still have to unsheath them, but let's see. Guitar, bass. Let's hope this is something different, because the neck feels abnormally large in here. So maybe it's the Jazzmaster, or maybe strangely the Stratocaster. All I know is I see a really cool color coming out of here. Let's go ahead and get this bad boy open. Inside here, oh, it's a Jazzmaster. I thought for sure this was a Stratocaster. That's just how tiny this thing is. Yes, I love this shell pink-like color in the fact that it's that satin eggshell finish on top of that. I know I called this finish, you know, kind of girly, but this encapsulates that whole hipster vibe of the Jazzmasters, but now it has the Jaguar kind of scale length, but we don't have any like the fancy rhythm treble circuits on these. It's just master volume, master tone. We've got the Jazzmaster style pickups in here. Just swap in a set of pure vintage 65s and you'd be good to go. But honestly, sometimes these cheaper Fender Japan guitars, they have pretty surprisingly good pickups in here. Now, I do want to address the elephant in the room. Generally, made in Japan guitars do not get the black plastic truss rod cap, but for some reason, these ones do. I'm not quite sure why they decided to do that, because normally that's like a made in Mexico type vibe. I saw somebody comment that on the first video I did about these, announcing them, and I have to agree with them. That is the one thing that kind of stands out on these that's a little bit different. But now we have a maple fretboard version, and it's got that same nice satin feel on the back of the neck as you do here, so some guys really like that. I'm really digging the Jazzmaster because that's another guitar that's really big. So the fact that it's been scaled down a little bit, and the fact that we still have the fancy trem system on here, is quite mind-boggling. So I had a couple of people wondering, did they actually have to scale everything down? No, you have to remember, the string spacing is the same, just like we were talking earlier. So that means none of the bridge or tail pieces or trims had to change at all. It's just the body that kind of shrunk. So in many ways you could say that these look larger than they do on a normal version. So that means with a little bit of luck, inside here we should have a Stratocaster, unless I messed up my ordering. These actually got here pretty quickly. They got stuck in US Customs for about a week, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. Yep, I'm not letting you guys down. It is a Stratocaster in here, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty cool color too. Let's go ahead and pop this one out. Surf Green Stratocaster. Ooh. This one also has that whole eggshell satin finish to it. Gotta say, I think it's the Stratocaster is my favorite so far, now that we've kind of seen them all together. This feels very tiny. Like, I could imagine somebody buying this and like scalloping the fretboard and being like Yngwie Malmsteen with like a tiny little thing like this. This is definitely the most attractive color, at least out of it, because it matches the best with the whole mint green pickguard phenomenon. Something about the Telecaster just seems so small, whereas the other ones, they're just a little bit smaller. So this one's got the rosewood fretboard, same everything else that we were talking about. The rosewood board kind of helps hide the whole black plastic truss rod cap right there. So man, yeah, this is looking nice. Kind of reminds me of like a robin egg, because it feels about the same and the color maybe a little bit less vibrant, but still looking nice. I'm curious, what color base did we also get here? The last one that we will unbox in today's mini episode. Oh, we got a matching set here. That's the other thing that's awesome about this series, is the fact that they have so many different colors. I mean, look on the screen. You've got all those different colors for all of them, and some of them have some exclusives, like the Tele having like that kind of a butterscotch blonde-esque finish. But here is the jazz bass version of the green one. That's looking sweet. Kind of same first impressions on this one as the last one. It feels more so just like a regular guitar. This one almost just feels like a bass. It's got a lot of heft to it, but oh, someone got lucky. There's a little bit of flamed figuring in this particular neck. So it looks like everything arrived safely as far as, you know, finished crack pocket wear and all that stuff. But what a cool sight to see all these things together. Jazz bass, Jazzmaster, Stratocaster, and Telecaster. So now we know some of these are like a satin eggshell, whereas others do have a full-on gloss finish, depending on what you're going for. And I can get more of these. They still seem to be readily available. Let's just say 2 to 3 months to be safe. I mean, these guys actually came in relatively quickly. It only took about 3 weeks, but it can vary. It can vary when it comes to international shipping. So, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed today's unboxing episode, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.